Fish me if you want to. You don't want the smoke, dog. I know you don't want the smoke.
Double kill. Leader nearing victory.
You know, if you love to see it. Ayah! Oh, did I stick him? Oh my gosh! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the wait is finally over. My patience has drawn thin, and now we enter the review phase. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're new to the channel or you just found this video, I am your host, the smoothest fingers in the gaming industry, your man ZaAZ and ZaGuru, the guru of gaming, as some would say. Many names out here in these streets, but I'm out here for you. And today we're talking about Halo Infinite, and I'm giving you my perspective on what I think about this game that was so hyped, yet so underperforming at the same time. Now, before we watch this video, I want to say I take my time reviewing these videos, and not just from playing the game or doing videos like this, not just editing, not anything just of that sort. There is no one end-all be-all type of discussion that you can have with video games, and all reviews that I do are obviously subjective, but I try to be as objective as possible. I try to be as reasonable as possible, and before I make my review, I try to watch other people's review that I trust and some people that I don't agree with, just to get other perspectives. So I highly recommend that you check out the Axeman's video and you check out Angry Joe's video. I also highly recommend that you check out SkillUp's review as well. These are some of the reviewers that I get a lot of my information from, and that I have learned and grown over time and pretty much through my gaming career as pretty much the people that I look up to, but also that I really respect in their opinions. So I really highly recommend you check that out before or even after you watch this video, and I hope you enjoy this. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's hop into Halo Infinite, and let's talk about how I feel about this game and what do I think about this game. So leading up to Halo Infinite, if you're familiar with the channel, you know I talked a lot about calming the hype. 343 has not made a great or really even a good Halo, in my opinion, since they got control of this IP. Now, if you're not familiar also with my channel, you're not familiar with me in general, I have played Halo pretty much my whole life, but I did not play the Halo campaigns. So when I refer to the Halo campaigns, just remember that I just now learned about the story leading up to Halo Infinite. That was part of the reason this took so long, is because I wanted to understand every nook and cranny of the lore and really get fascinated and really understand what Halo was all about. I played multiplayer all my life. I competed at events, I went to Halo LANs, and if you pay attention to my comp channel, you'll see all of that. So a lot of the competitive stuff I will leave out and put in another video on the comp channel, and I've already pretty much discussed at this point over on that channel. But again, most of my stuff comes from playing the multiplayer, understanding the multiplayer, and mostly competing at events, which I still am prone and love to do. So a lot of this video is going to be centered around campaign, lore, and basic casual multiplayer. So what do I think about Halo in general over these last few years that it's been out? And I just want to say that I thought it's been garbage, just like I think how Call of Duty's been really bad since Black Ops 2, barring a couple of games and a couple game modes. I don't think that Halo has ever done anything that really changes the way the landscape looks in gaming or change the paradigm of what is going on in gaming. And I feel the exact same way about this game. I don't feel like Halo does anything special that changes what gaming is right now, in the state of where gaming is right now. I just don't feel like it pushes those boundaries to really say, oof, we're in a next generation of shooters. Now, don't get me wrong, the actual gameplay and physics and graphics of the game really kind of make you go, okay, that's good, that's pretty new, but only is it new for Halo. Because if we're going to talk about just gun sounds, gameplay, and engine changing, Modern Warfare 2019 did that last generation. And I would even argue that Modern Warfare 2019, in terms of graphics, realism, gameplay, and just pure gun sounds, is a little bit better than Halo Infinite, and it came out about 3 years ago at this point now. So I would have to say, you know, it's not really a next-gen experience in my opinion. Now, does this mean that it's a bad game? Does it mean that it's not worth your time? No, not at all. I just don't think that when we think of next-gen titles, and this usually happens when a new next-gen console comes out or a new graphics card comes out, it takes a little bit of time for the developers to really get that saturation and that feel for the next console, to really understand what's going on in the console and really make the games perform at a high level in those platforms. So I think there's going to be a little bit of time that we're going to have to see. But again, I just don't think like anything in terms of Halo Infinite has done or what it is doing is really making the gaming community go, wow, that's really brand new. That's something we haven't seen. And to start us off with, the number one reason I feel this way is simply because the gameplay in campaign, and not just the gameplay, but the overall theme of campaign feels like it was cut. It feels a lot like Cyberpunk. If you guys remember me reviewing the game last year, I talked about this, and I love that game. And I do like Halo Infinite, but I don't think that this game was fully cooked, and it had development issues. We know that. And again, I continue to state this, that people who push this narrative of working from home, not working together and being cohesive, whether it be COVID issues or anything related to that, it breaks up the symmetry and it breaks up the chemistry of how you build art. When you work with people, you see people, you embrace people. This is a Christian value that all of us Christians know. And if you come to this channel and you're looking for that type of stuff, or you've been around this channel and you see me, this is what I embrace, is this Christian principle of embracing people and being together and working with each other in person. It's very important that we do that. And I think that's why we're seeing not just Halo Infinite, but most games come out so half-assed. I really do believe that. I feel like working from home, waking up in your own house all the time and staying in your house all the time, it hurts you. I do it and I have to get out the house consistently. And I think that was a major player. Was it the player? No, probably not. I think there were some idea flaws and some direction flaws that we definitely seen that got changed, obviously with the year delay that we ended up seeing in Halo Infinite. But I continually say that this is a big reason the gaming community is going through what it's going through. Now, with that aside, let's just talk about the direction, the art design, and why I feel this game is really just half-baked. And the reason that I really think that it is the way it is because I think 343 put a lot of their time and effort into the actual gameplay of the game, which is the most important thing. This game is fun to play. It's enjoyable. When it runs correctly, the gunplay feels smoother than it's ever felt, unless you're in multiplayer and you have a bit of desync. But in campaign, it feels a lot better than almost any Halo has ever felt. And that's saying something. From the gunplay, to the different weapons, to the grapple hook, to the roaming around the map, feels better than any Halo has felt, and almost any other first-person shooter has felt in my lifetime. For a long time. I would just say just a long time. I don't know about my lifetime. There's a lot of games I would have to sit here and think about, but definitely when it comes to mind recently, it's one of the most fun. Now, with that being said, gameplay isn't everything when you're asking us for $60. And I know it's on Game Pass. I've heard this many times. It's on Game Pass, AZ. All you have to do is get it on Game Pass. I am a big proponent and a big pusher of Game Pass. I love Game Pass. I think it's a great idea, and I think it needs to continue to be a great idea and continue to be funded like this. However, it's still $60 for people who don't have Game Pass, and that still means we need a $60 value, and I still don't see a $60 value in this game, considering that the multiplayer is free to play. You don't get anything new that incentivizes you to go play the campaign, really, other than a couple armor coatings and a couple little, gadgets, I guess you could say, for multiplayer. There's no armor piece like the Hayabusa armor or any other armor that you get in the old Halos. There's nothing that really incentivizes you if you just enjoy the multiplayer to go experience the campaign if you're not somebody who already was looking forward to the campaign. It's just not something that you can sit here and say and I can recommend to you that you should do. Another reason that I feel like this game is half-baked and the reason that it is the way it is because I feel like there is a lot of executive, and when I say executive, I mean Microsoft, corporate greed going on within this game. And you can see that by the way the Battle Pass was designed, which I don't have to get into that. Most of you have probably already seen that. And if you're not familiar with it, just know that it was absolutely abysmal on launch and still really isn't great. It's not phenomenal. It's not something that I'm like, yeah, that's probably the best Battle Pass in gaming. And you can also tell by the way the store is operated until recently with the patch. Obviously, you're seeing this on the 25th of January. I'm trying to judge the whole landscape over these last 2 months. That it doesn't feel like these guys even thought, hey, maybe we should do something different instead of copying and pasting pretty much everything Apex, Fortnite, Call of Duty have done. Why don't we switch it up? The only thing different that they have done with this Battle Pass is literally take out currency, which is a bad change, and put in the ability to always grind out a Battle Pass and choose your Battle Pass, which they didn't even come up with in this game. It was already present in the MCC. And that's another criticism that I have about this game. That's my biggest flaw and my biggest takeaway from this game is that if this was a new IP and it was this half-baked and they were on this 10-year plan, okay, you know what? I can see it, you know, such as Destiny with Bungie. Obviously, Bungie doing Destiny is obviously something that we all know was going to take a little bit of time, right? It had this 10-year plan, it had this vision. It was the first IP of that series. It's going to take some time to flesh out. Obviously, we're just now getting to that point where Destiny is a pretty decent game, right? It's not a bad game. It's not a great game in my opinion, but it's a really good game that I enjoy playing from time to time. Now, when we use that with Halo, Halo has had 20 years now to make a really good game, and they've already done it. So why are you trying to reinvent the wheel and try something that's completely off the wall when you already know what works and what doesn't work? Don't launch a game without Forge. We don't want it. It's not going to work. Don't launch a game with 5 multiplayer maps. It's not going to work. We don't want it. Do not launch a game that has 1 biome or 2 biomes, whatever you want to say, in campaign. It's not going to work. These are not things that us as players or people who work in the industry are oblivious to. Why was the design to only have 4 runner structures mostly throughout the game in the main missions? Why was it that there's only 1 biome, pretty much 1 biome, throughout the whole game? Why was that the direction? Why was it the direction that you're going to tell a story that we don't know what's going to happen at the end, and the main villain that we're chasing the whole time doesn't have any closure? Why is that the direction? I understand this is a game that's supposed to be built on 10 years, you know, that live service game model. And yet again, we see just another time why this cannot work. And it's because they continually come up with excuses for themselves, and they want to trick the player base into continually waiting on that next juice, right? That next addiction, that next thing, that next needle, basically, right? That next, oh my God, there's gonna be something next. That next thing, you know, I keep saying next, but you guys get what I'm saying here. That is what is going on. And this is an addictive mindset. The people who are working at Microsoft, the people who probably work at 343 as well, they know this. If they can keep you coming back and playing more, the more not just money you'll spend, but the more of your time you will spend, and that obviously leads to money. And I just don't agree with this platform. I don't agree with this in the multiplayer, and I don't agree with this in the campaign. If you go check out Reddit and you do any research on Reddit, or you look at Twitter, which I don't obviously advocate looking on them too much, but there is obviously a gem hidden in the rough every now and then, you'll see a lot of people always saying, hey, look at this, or look at this thing. And it varies from thing to thing, right? I don't have time to get into all of them. But if you look at them, you'll see and notice that people keep saying, well, maybe in the future, you know, we'll get new biomes, or maybe in the future we'll get Atriox, or maybe in the future we'll get more maps for multiplayer. And it's a continual trend that has happened in gaming over time, and I do not agree with it. A $60 game should launch with a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it should be a $60 product. End of story. $70 product, whatever the game costs, it should get that value out of it. And if you're going to tell me that Halo Infinite as a $60 campaign is as good as something like Red Dead Redemption 2, or something like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, or something like a Red Dead Redemption 1, or any other $60 game, Last of Us 1 that came out back then, I don't agree with you, because there isn't enough here. It's not as fluid, it's not as dynamic, it's not as revolutionary, it's not as creative as those games were trying to be. Now, if you're looking for Halo, a good Halo, a solid Halo, well, you've come to the right place. Halo is really good this year. And like I said, with the creativity, with the sandbox, with the level design, and especially with the AI, the game is really good. There's just times in this game that you sit back and you think to yourself, man, that was really fun and really enjoyable. But then there's other times with PC performance that I was having, for example, where the game just kept stuttering, it kept dropping, and especially the mission where it was the two brothers that I won't spoil the names of, right? I don't want this to be a spoiler video if you haven't played yet. Probably should have played it already, but I won't spoil it. Where you're just sitting to yourself like, what in the absolute hell is going on here? And I just don't think I can advocate a game or come out and give this game this praise and this love that I just feel like I've been playing so much better games for the past couple years, and especially the multiplayer. Look, let me just be honest with you guys. The multiplayer is abysmal, and I can get into every nitpicking thing about the ranked play. Like I said, I will leave the ranked play out because mostly what I play is ranked play. But the fact to not include BR playlists and AR playlists separate from each other is a big miss. How about the ability for no pre-game lobbies or no post-game lobbies? It's a big miss. These are things that are staples in not just Halo, but other games. And again, they're just following trends. These are trends that are not just happening in Halo, but they're happening in Call of Duty. They happen in Apex. They happen in Valorant. None of these games are allowing you to talk to friends during pre-game and post-game lobbies. They're not. Or some of these games are just banning you for leaving games instead of letting other people join. Now, obviously, Halo doesn't suffer from that consequence in casual, but in ranked play, you can't just leave a game, or if you crash in a game, rejoin or have somebody replace you. It's basic stuff like this that really lead me to believe that it's not just a Halo or a 343 thing, it's a gaming paradigm thing. And I just really don't understand why the idea is that way. And the only thing I can really narrow it down to is it's got to be greed, and it's got to be these people at the top engineering a certain way for you to play these games, whether it's Microsoft and Activision, which now are seamless, or whether it's Riot. It's like, it's across the board, and I don't get it. And so again, I don't want to get off on too much of a tangent there. I don't want to get upset about it. I don't really want to get too in depth about these things that I'm pointing out right now, because I feel like that's a gaming landscape thing. But again, this is leading into my topic of Halo Infinite is a game where you consistently think to yourself, they're not doing anything new, they're just copying what other people have done. And granted, Halo has done a really good job of making their core gameplay still Halo, but what's pretty much the difference between really this game and something Halo 2 and Halo 3 did, especially Halo 2 Anniversary? What really is the difference here, other than adding sprint, right, which obviously was a good idea. They found how to nerf and balance sprint, you know, they found a really good balance for it. But what really is the difference here? The maps aren't any better, they're not any more creative, and I'd argue that most of them are worse. Why is it the way that it is? Why is there no tour progression system? Why is there no armor unlocks when you're in tour progression? Why is there no, when you get to the highest rank, why is there no extra armor pieces? And it comes down to the fact that these people don't care. They didn't pay attention enough to these things. And if they did pay enough attention to these things, then they willingly did it on purpose, and that is even worse. So again, I don't want to sit here all the time and just say that this game is really bad. I've made a very productive effort to get through this campaign and play this campaign. I had a lot of issues with stuttering, glitches, the fact that you have to disable high-res texture packs to stop the game from crashing on PC makes the game on campaign look like shit. And I don't want to install 17 gigs of stuff or high-res textures just to play the campaign when I switch back through the multiplayer and campaign very frequently. I just don't like that stuff. One thing I do like, however, is the establishment of the Marines. I feel like they did a really good job of making the Marines feel like something you want to do. Equipping them with a lot of snipers or a lot of rocket launchers or a lot of even BRs feels amazing, and it feels like you're going into the Banished and you're like, man, we're taking back this place. But at the same time, it feels like if there are so many Marines and so many people, where is Lasky? Where is Cortana? Where are all these people and these things that have made Halo so iconic? Why are none of these people prevalent in this story? I cannot believe, and I want to say this again, I cannot believe that half of the characters that have been in Halo, most of them, honestly, most of them are not prevalent in this game. It is utter nonsense to think an icon such and as big as Halo doesn't have some of the moments with some of the people and some of the emotions flowing through this game. And don't even get me started on the lack of set pieces and the lack of moments such as shooting a big ass tank or shooting these big ass wars or these big ass fights. They don't exist in this game whatsoever. And don't even get me started on the lack of big fights in BTB. When BTB first launched, I thought to myself, man, we have a gym here, but the game mode hasn't been working in almost a month and a half. How do you mess up a whole game mode like this? How? When there's games like Ground War on Call of Duty or Warzone that has 150 players, you can't even handle a simple 12v12, 10v10, 8v8 game mode? Are you serious? Is that you can't handle that? Which leads me to believe there's no way they can handle a BR right now. There's no way. They can barely get a free-to-play Halo game up and running before we can even think about a BR, or even before we can even think about a Forge mode. I mean, Forge mode is going to come with its own issues, and I can already see them, which is another thing that leads me to believe there's no co-op campaign, and it feels like the game fits co-op campaign. I mean, look, I can always criticize a game, all right? And games can always go criticism, and they can always be broken down, and they can always just, you know, we can always do this. But one thing I definitely want to say, and I want to be honest with, is that I do enjoy playing Halo campaigns and Halo multiplayer at its ground-based level. The BR sounds amazing. The competitive is a lot of fun. There's a lot of strategy to it, a lot of thinking to it. There are obviously problems. Every game has problems, but they are really fun to play, which is the most important thing. I don't want to come out and say that this game is complete garbage, because it's not. It's one of the best first-person shooters in terms of gameplay in a few years, and I do highly enjoy playing it from time to time when the game actually works. But the problem is the game barely works. It suffers from desync. It suffers from issues that we told them in the flight would happen if they did this, and it just suffers incredibly from a lack of design and improvement. And not only just that, but creativity that made the Halo games in the past were known for and set the paradigm, and they were all generational pushing up to Halo 4. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I personally am going to rate the multiplayer a 6 out of 10, just purely based on the shop and the cosmetic stuff that's going on and the lack of game modes and the maps, and I could go on and on. I just think it's a 6 out of 10. The only reason I'm giving it a 6 out of 10 is because the gameplay is so good. And then I'm going to have to give the gameplay on campaign, or not even just the gameplay, because the gameplay and campaign is really a 10, but just the campaign in general, a 7. And like I said, the reason I'm even giving it that high is because the gameplay and the sandbox are a lot of fun. If I had to merge the scores, it would be a 6.5 out of 10, but I'm gonna feel generous today and say it's a 7 out of 10 with the xCloud and with Game Pass and the deal that you get for this game and the replayability that you can do with this game. You can always go back and just shoot a bunch of grunts, shoot a bunch of brutes, and have a lot of fun with it. There's times where people and grunts and brutes and everything, they spawn back in after you capture a base. They're still like moving around there, so I enjoy that, and I thought it was really good. So I think this is something that you should pick up, maybe if you're bored and you don't have anything else to play. But if you enjoy other games and you're looking for a very good product for $60, I don't recommend this game, and I definitely recommend waiting a couple of months until they fully flesh out this game. I just think it's just not ready, including, let me say this again, including after waiting 2 months. Guys, I made this video 2.5 months later, and I'm saying this. Oh, man, and we still don't have any consistent updates and stuff. It's like, what? I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't want to say I'm disappointed. I just want to say, why? Why, man? Why can't we just get these little things right in gaming and just come out with games? We did this 20 years ago. 10, 20 years ago, we were making games better than this. Why are we going backwards? Oh, it is what it is, man. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. As always, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you. Yeshua saves. Bless up. One thing I wanted to say before we go for all of my lovely Christian supporters, or people who are just interested in me, is one thing is that this game paints Halo Chief as the human race savior. And I just want to make this very clear. The only savior that the human race is ever going to have is Yeshua, Jesus Christ. Now, I know this is a video game in a fiction-based world. I get it. But I want to make this very clear that the young generation and the people who are younger who are playing this game don't feed into this hype of Master Chief, or even get into the mindset that a man that was created, okay, let me just say that again, a man that was created is going to save the world from their sins. Only God himself is going to save the world from his sins. And if you don't know the story, you should do your own research. But that's all I have to say. Got to get that in there. You know how I am. Much love, ladies and gentlemen. Bless up. As always, God bless. Let me know what you thought of the video down below. More videos to come. Hopefully some more patient reviews. I know it was a long time. I appreciate your patience as I was being patient. And again, go check out some of the other reviewers such as Skill Up, Axeman, and Angry Joe. They do a lot better job than I ever could, and they kind of cement and formulate their opinions better than how I'm formulating my opinions on some of these things, as the patient review is supposed to be a broad overview and not a specific overview, and most importantly, a patient one. So like I said, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Bless up, and I'll see you guys in the next, hopefully, Halo video. Man, this is depressing.